Mr. Perry Allison, welcome to the Rich Equation podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Ashish.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited. You know, it's amazing the blessing that I have to do this podcast. I get to meet really amazing people, and you were connected with me by a childhood friend of mine, and you've been doing some really great work and have had life transformation. And so I'm just really excited to bring this to the audience today and get into your story and some of the things that we're challenged with today.
Yeah, likewise. I'm here to provide any kind of inspiration, insight, support to your audience, and I'm ready to go. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, let's actually start with your story, because normally I don't ask everybody to share their story because I really like to get right into the content. But your story is really important for people to give them context. And then we'll pivot into sort of what's going on today and what is some of the work you're doing today and how we can share some value from that. But go into your story if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I try not to go too far back or in too much detail, but I want to stay very contextual so people get a good understanding of where my experiences lie. But I grew up in Southern California. Just turned 34 years old a couple days ago, and so Southern California, not really known for unless we're talking homelessness, folks living below the poverty line if you have a sustainable place to live. But that's where I was. My family was raised on welfare, food stamps, Section 8. We were struggling to get by through most of my childhood, and financial stability, let alone security, was not in anything, in any kind of sphere of normal for us. And so at age 13, we were evicted from our home. So from age 13 to 17 years old, my mom and I were, bouncing around, living with a family friend, to my uncle's garage, to, stints of living in our car that was broken, and motels based off of California support, which is a different situation. But man, it was a struggle. And all throughout my upbringing, I now reflect back and see how being an entrepreneur was something that was just kind of beaten in me from early life. I was the kid on the schoolyard selling candy and baseball cards and holding the lemonade stands and doing all that. And so I didn't really connect it then or see any kind of relevance with it. But man, when I turned 17 years old and I, graduated high school, had a full-time ability to start providing for myself, it's exactly what I did. I jumped on with the company and really didn't look back. So from that point, I started working for a company that fixed exercise equipment. So I was a service technician, started that position where you need a vehicle to go from job site to job site. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a set of tools, but fortunately for me, the owner was very helpful in getting me off the ground there. But, I started that job and I was able to figure it out. I stayed there for a couple of years, fixing exercise equipment, performing preventative maintenance, until I was released from that job for some fun circumstances. I jumped into a manufacturer of fitness equipment when I was 19 years old and became a product and service support manager for them in North America, traveling throughout the country to help kind of retrofit their problematic pieces of equipment out in the field, and traveled to Korea to help them develop products there. And so I was just really fortunate early on to be given such opportunities to work in the service industry and then go and work for a manufacturer of equipment. I look back now and I just nothing but gratitude and appreciation that I was given those opportunities. But one day I was called by an old customer when I was a service technician for fitness equipment. And he's like, "Hey man, my treadmill's broken. Is that something you can help me with?" I kind of stopped in the moment. I'm like, "No, because I don't do that anymore. But I could sure use the money." "Yeah, absolutely. I could do that for you." So, man, doing that job in particular, it reignited that entrepreneurial spirit I had growing up, that feeling of accomplishing something and creating that income without anybody else's permission or guidance, but it was just the strict value that I had that I was able to return to that person, and he rewarded me for it. And I was like, man, within an hour, I just created more than a day's wage for myself. I wonder if I could do it again. And so that was really the start of my very first company in 2009. At 19 years old, I started a company servicing fitness equipment.
I love it.
Yeah. So I could go on into detail from there, but I don't know how much you want to know at this point.
Yeah, no, that's great. And since
there,
then, I mean, from homelessness to now starting your own business, since then, what have you been up to?
Yeah. So, I mean, that company just continued to accelerate. We gained more contracts, primarily providing service, repair, maintenance to hotels and apartments with fitness centers. So I was gaining lots of contracts along the way, and everything was going extremely well. We started selling equipment here and there to customers that needed to just replace their equipment because it was too old or broken to do that. And ultimately, that company became a holistic commercial fitness organization where, you know, we to this day continue to conceptualize and design fitness spaces from the ground up for celebrities like Mark Wahlberg, professional sports teams, and then of course hotels and apartments are still big for us. But that really just kind of continued to grow to this all-encompassing fitness organization. But I would say there's two very significant things that happened to me along the way. The first was in 2018 when I hit what I call the operator breakpoint. I was essentially still managing every major aspect of my business in 2018. While I had hired on folks to help me take the volume of the basic administrative tasks, I was still really entrenched with all of what I saw as being the top level decisions and customer experience issues. So concerns, delays, frustrations of our customers, I was seeing and touching everything, to the point where I was working from 8 a.m. when my staff arrived to 2 a.m. until I fell asleep on my office floor. My family at the time was back in Riverside. And for those of you who know, from Orange County to Riverside in Southern California, that's about an hour and a half drive. So I didn't commute back and forth during the week. I just stayed at my office. And I remember calling my wife at 2 a.m. right when I finished my day. And I just told her, I was like, look, I'm completely maxed out here. We're making more money than we ever have before. But I got to tell you, when I say that I want to lock the door and throw away the key and never come back to this place, I'm not lying to you. I'm deeply frustrated. I feel like I have sold my soul for profit. I feel like I have just worked myself in this hamster wheel to the point where I don't know what this is all for. We could have all the money in the world, but like, why? What am I doing here? And it was just a moment where I was like, I built a prison around me. I'd not only worked myself into a job, I'd worked myself into 20 jobs. And, that was my operator break point. And by force, because I couldn't sell the business, any business that relies so heavily on the operator, the founder, is not a sellable asset. So I wasn't really in a position to do that, but I really didn't want to walk away from this thing that I had put my heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears into. It's like a child of mine. So I really kind of defaulted. I wish I could have said, like, intellectually, I think this is the best course. And I more so really stumbled on the right conclusion, which was I needed to empower my team. I needed to, first of all, take the great players on my team and invest.
So hold on. So before we get to the lesson, because I think we need to get there for sure. But tell us what happened in the immediate after that phone call, that breaking point, that level of awareness, that pivotal moment in your life. What happened shortly after that? What happened within the next couple of days or next couple of hours?
And I can't say that it was immediate or I had any kind of sense of direction following that conversation. But it was really just kind of a despair that washed over me. It was, this pressure to figure out a better way to live, because I was certain, and I told her this, I said, look, at the time I was, 2018, 4 years ago, I was about 29 years old. And so I was like, if I keep this pace, I'm going to kill myself. Like this, in just exhaustion, just the stress of it, the anxiety, just what I was wearing and hanging on to every day is not healthy for you. And so that was really what was settling heavily on me after that call. And I that's an interesting question, because I don't recall what happened immediately after that or how it led me up to that aha moment, but I became really vulnerable with my team. And I think that's where it started. I was like, guys, I'm at the end of my rope here. I just got to be honest with you. I hold a strong pillar every day where I'm like, this is what we're doing, and I got you. I got everything, in fact. But now I'm like bringing down that guard where I'm like, dude, I'm tired, honestly. And I think that was big for the key players at the time to see, like, man, dude, this guy's human, and he doesn't have all the answers, and he's not happy. So that's really what was pivotal to change. That's an interesting question, because I hadn't thought about.
I think, yeah, it was really, there's so much lesson in this, which is why I want to slow it down a little bit. You know, coming to a place of vulnerability, the team responded to that. Tell us a little bit about that. What showed up for them, what showed up for you, and what mobilized soon after that moment?
Man, it was this, it was an understanding that what I had created up to that point was great. Like, it's great. You build a business, you put your heart into it. What a person can do with a team, even a team that's not engaged, is tremendous. Like, there's amazing energy there and potential. And so I think in that vulnerability, talking to my key players, one person in particular comes to mind, Mike Martinez, who's still with me to this day. At that time, he had just come on as an office or a warehouse hand, really. And he's just a great connector of people, and I confided in him. But my thought at that moment was like, hey, Mike, what do you think about stepping in to like help me with some of this load? Do you feel capable of this? Do you feel like you could manage some of this stuff? Because I'm at the end of my rope, and I trust you just in your character, the type of person you are and what I know about you. Would you care to take a crack at handling some of these issues? And knowing his background, his story is amazing, what he's come from. And to get to that point with me, I was like, man, I'd love to see you succeed. I'd love to see you win. Like, I've come from very little, and I've got here. What could we do together? How could we both take advantage of this vehicle, of this vehicle, Premier, the company, and be able to cultivate a success for you as well? And so that was really big. That was a big moment.
What, reflecting back, and again, I want to stay here in this moment because I think there's a lot of power in this story. And I think all entrepreneurs hit this pivotal moment, whether you know it or you don't know it. And so I haven't had the chance to dissect this so intimately with somebody before, so I'm just going to lean into it. Now that you've gone through it, what do you think the stories that you were telling yourself, in the accumulation of that moment that got you to that place? What was the program? What was the story? What was the narrative that made you slave away to something where you were sleeping at your office, away from your family, 5 to 6 days a week, more money than you've ever made, thinking that was going to make you happy, and then ultimately getting to a place where you were like, I'm ready to leave everything, stop everything, like a very extreme emotional moment? What were the stories and the narratives that were going through your mind?
Man, it was like very, very specific ones in particular that just, I guess, now tormented me every day. And it was fear of poverty, fear of being broke again, fear of going back to that frustrating period that I knew when I grew up. And then when I had my daughter in 2015, it was like, no, she cannot ever feel the heat of that oven that I previously had touched. And so it was just this gnawing dog chasing me constantly, no matter how much money was made, no matter how much success we experienced, that poverty is just right around the corner. And so, staying committed to driving this forward and watching those numbers increase is your only purpose here. This is your job. You stay here and you give every ounce of energy and time and commitment. And that's exactly what I did. And I saw myself really kind of, when I say lose my soul, like I lost my soul. I feel like I'm kind of in recovery right now, because I was always a class clown. I was always the guy cracking jokes, making making the environment fun for a group of people. And I lost the ability to do that. I didn't cultivate, I didn't exercise that muscle of social just engagement, because it wasn't valuable process, part of the business, to promote the growth of my business and to keep that dog at bay. Like, that social thing was not valuable. So man, it was that was a story that was playing on in my head constantly.
Yeah, I think that poverty is a pretty extreme motivator, but it was a motivator.
Right.
It really mobilized you, right? And I think a lot of people have something that is motivating them, whether it be poverty or some other pain or fear, whatever you want to call it. Do you think, it's really funny in reflecting in this stuff, because I think it's easy to punish yourself and or to think like that you're a victim of that, but it also, there's a gift in that too, right? There's like a blessing in that focus and that energy. It's such a pure focus energy that drives you to be successful. And so I'm really fascinated. The more I have these conversations, I'm really fascinated about the science of this, because how do you take away the drive? And you were driven from either a fear of being poor, but how do you take away the drive and still recreate the formula of success? Because you can't tell me that if you took away that fear, that you would, for sure, I'd still be successful. Like, are you sure? We don't know that.
Right.
And I'm really fascinated with when we study successful people and in their performance and how they get to where they're getting, is what happens after that pivotal moment. They realize, oh shit, this is where it was all coming from. But if you were to take that thing away, would you still be who you are on that same journey? We don't know.
Right. No, I love that. That's an excellent point. And that's exactly what it is. I consider it more of a blessing than a curse. It's absolutely not a curse. What was a curse, what turned into a curse, I think any good thing to an extreme will be a bad thing for you. So it was a lack of balance and good content flowing in, to balance out this drive, because you need to be able to be multifaceted in order to be successful. Success in life is not just one piece of the pie. It's this harmony of purpose that is unique to each individual, but it takes a consciousness and an intention to be able to map that out and pursue each item with the correct percentage of your time, attention, and energy. Well, what's really funny, the first thing that I thought of is you were, talking about your foundation growing up and tapping into this high level motivation based on some negative experiences. My dad, he didn't make all the greatest choices. There was, drug use and just he wasn't a provider for my family, but he was everybody's friend. But one of his things, his famous lines were, I turned out to be such a screw up just to show him, meaning me, how not to turn out. So if you're familiar with Johnny Cash and his song, A Boy Named Sue, he essentially, a boy named sued me. Like he put me in this position of not having very much and not being the greatest example for me to be able to like run as fast away from that position as possible. In hindsight, is really kind of what I take away from his fatherhood. But even that is a blessing. You can look in the moment and be like, how dare you do that to me and my family and my mom? But at this moment, it's like, you're exactly right. It is the energy that has created who I've become today. So,
well, I think what I love about that story and what you've done is, I think a lot of people, you don't realize it in the moment, but you're running from lack, and you're running so fast from lack that you achieve abundance and you don't even know it. And then it hits you in the face with suffering and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? And then you get into the level of awareness that we have now, or what we're talking about. And it's a recurring journey for all successful people, whether it's in business or in whatever part of their aspect of life, sports, athletics. And so it's just a really fascinating thing to study. and help people create awareness of where am I in that journey and what am I chasing or running away from, or all of those things. Let's talk about, because you are an entrepreneur, you're in Texas now, you're running a company across the United States with many associates, and I really want to talk about business and strategy and things, and specifically about the mindset of people right now. And we were talking a little bit about that before we started recording. What do you see is going on? We're at a very unique time in history. We're recording this in November of 2022. Interest rates are higher than they've been in a really long time. We're being intentionally pushed into a recession. We have interestingly low unemployment, although the culture of employment is changing. The dynamics of employment are changing. Just give us some of your thoughts on what's going on and what are some of the challenges that we should be prepared for.
Yeah. So, I think it's a culmination of a lot of things. And I appreciate the fact that you said that we're being pushed into a recession. And, this started many, many years ago. 2020 was a blatant sign of this moment with the printing of money and the suppression of the world's largest economy. The workforce was really not in a position to take a 2-week vacation when they proposed that it was going to be a 2-week vacation. Turned into, in California, an 18-month-long ordeal where folks were getting the fish without having to fish. And so it created tremendous amounts of apathy in a workforce that was already not in a good position to understand how to be of value in a marketplace. I'm not saying the American marketplace, I'm saying the marketplace, because now what we're moving into is a global marketplace. With businesses having the ability to go and store and run their entire business in a cloud-based system, there's not much of anything within an office setting, administrative tasks, even to high-level operations and accounting, HR, sales, that really can't be done overseas and internationally. This is something that my team and I, being forced to in COVID, when my company was shut down, Premier Fitness Service, for 18 months, 100% of our customers were taken off the table. We pivoted and had to reduce costs drastically. So we outsourced a lot of positions overseas. We also gained a lot of new positions by hiring overseas. We've also empowered a lot of our American workforce to raise their level of aptitude and responsibility as a result of that. So it's been a huge inspiration for my US team, as well as it's been such a blessing to have our global team come on board. They're like family, and it's beautiful. So I think the US workforce, that unemployment rate is set to change. It has to change. It is going to change. Yeah. With the recession, that's going to be a big part of it. Businesses laying off droves of folks. Amazon announced that prior to the holiday season that they're going to be releasing 10,000 people. I'm like, dude, that is an ominous sign, because usually you're gaining more people. The world's largest distributor of goods during the holiday season, signaling that. But that's going to play a part. But the fact that business owners can go overseas and not only find more cost-effective labor, sure, but a more highly motivated workforce that has the soft skills that Americans could not even start to comprehend what those soft skills are or how to apply them. Within nations where they have experienced poverty, and I've experienced poverty, so I don't make light of someone being hungry when I say this, but folks who are hungry are willing to work, do whatever it takes. They will be a team player. They will join the cause, and they will fight for you because you are their means to life. And truly, I think keeping that mentality, even when you are at a comfortable financial situation, is how you stay sharp in the market. But Americans have fully lost that feeling of hunger with this abundance and comfort. And so, like a rug being swept out from underneath them, they're going to realize a lot of jobs are no longer available, which is going to push a massive amount of workforce into skilled trades and physical positions where folks need to be. So the workforce is going to open up, which is a good thing for businesses to be able to have more talented pool of folks, increasing the interest and passion of those people to be good team players and not to be toxic or malicious to a company or their team. That's like the biggest thing for me, is not being toxic in the culture. But at the same time, the reason that we're in this mess, I still put full responsibility on business owners and business leaders alike for the reason that the current workforce is so disenchanted with work, is because leadership has not intentionally, but just by nature of the story I just shared with you, my situation, I was not cognitive of the fact that I was responsible for every other member of my team's success. I didn't know that that was my responsibility. And even if I did, I didn't feel capable of delivering success to other people because I was so out to just protect myself and my family, to set up that wall and build it as high as possible without asking why. So
let's stay here because I think, let's stay here because I think I love what you just said. And I'm really glad you just made that pivot because we need to lean into that. I think it was really easy for that conversation to have gone, it's the fault of all employees. And whether that is true or untrue, it doesn't matter.
Right.
If leaders are truly leaders, their job is to drive and lead and to influence. And so what is your advice to leaders today? If we got ourselves into this mess, we're going to have to get ourselves out of it. What are some takeaways? What are some lessons that we should keep top of mind going into this and trying to get through it?
Yeah, absolutely. As a leader and starting your own business, you have to take full responsibility for everything in your environment. Every person that comes through your doors, every customer, every vendor interaction, every negative thing or positive thing that happens is a result of what you have done or haven't done. And so it's that foundation of opening yourself up and being vulnerable to say, look, in some way, shape, or form, I caused this. So I'm going to retain the power and the responsibility to fix it. It is really vital. So if there's one concept, it's that. And I just finished the book, Extreme Ownership, as well as the dichotomy of leadership, which I think my man Ashish still has behind him.
I feel like I can't seem to find it fast. Such a good book. That
would be one I would just say, look, to wake up a leader, read that book, and then everything else is built upon you just taking control of the reins. So yeah, I mean, that's key. And with regards to people, it's like we hire these people, we interview them. We say, yes, come into my environment, enjoy my team. In fact, I will pay you every other week to do what I tell you to do in the way that I tell you to do it. Like, these are your people. This is your responsibility. This is not an us versus them. It's not a sit in your office and sneer at them as to why they're so inept. If they're really that bad, get rid of them, fire them. Well, I can't fire them because I need that job done. Well, then looks like you are just complaining. Looks like you are just out of luck. Looks like you're at fault, because if you don't feel like you can fill that role again as quickly as you need to, so what, you're a victim to this person? They have the authority within your business and you continue to pay them? You sign their check? Where have we lost the understanding of you are the captain of your ship, so it is your responsibility to set that culture and control how the energy is in your office to how things are getting done. So it all, again, trickles back to full responsibility and extreme ownership.
Let's talk about innovation. And I was reading an article recently that 90% of all startups fail, 70% of all venture capital companies fail, and 50% of all companies within the first 5 years fail. And we're at a really, really unique time. And the amount of money poured into startups and venture over the last decade or two has been insane. And the philosophy that you could go into business and lose money, I think the big tech companies are proving that that's going to slowly reverse, that we're going to have to lay off people to start figuring out how to make money. Not to say that that's like specifically slowing down growth, but just the prudency of capital and movement. And so, we're going to have to focus on innovation. There's going to be new companies that start up in the season of blood in the water.
Yeah.
As we walk into the next couple of years of opportunity, let's call it, where should we be? What should be the mindset? What should we be looking out for? And where do you believe there is opportunity?
I love that question. And I alluded to it just a moment ago, but there were two big moments in my entrepreneurial career that fundamentally made me who I am now. 2018, when I experienced the operator breakpoint that I went into detail on, and then 2020, where 100% of my customers were completely shut down for 18 months. We, again, are in the supportive commercial fitness spaces. Those weren't too popular in the COVID pandemic. So we actually didn't shut down for a single day. We were running on such huge amounts of momentum from 2019, which was our best year yet, based on some of the changes we implemented in 2018, and that aha moment. But 2020, we're like, there's no way we can shut down. How do we pivot? Sanitation products were something that we were selling up to that point. So we're like, look, let's double down on that. All of our sanitation supply was completely wiped out on March 15th, as soon as the pandemic hit. And we were one of the only companies to actually maintain sanitation wipes and some additional products that we incorporated during that time. So I won't go into detail on the innovation or the way that we were filling in the need just to stay viable during that time. But to your point, what can we foresee in the future? I think there's a couple of big things that need to happen before folks really lose a lot of their capital when starting something new. Is you got to test the waters. You got to survey the market, see what the market needs and wants, and slowly implement these changes with new iterations and make sure that the market is responding. Prior to building a product, this is a little more ambitious, but I follow the thought process of have an idea, offer that idea, monetize it, sell it, and then build the product. Now that's really uncomfortable for a lot of people because they feel like they have to have the product in order to sell it. And they feel even a little disingenuous with the selling of something that doesn't yet exist. But truthfully, you got to make sure that there's market fit. And with that responsibility of somebody wanting your product or service to the degree that they have committed finances to it, man, now there's a lot of responsibility as you being someone with integrity and high moral ethical standard that you're going to do whatever it takes to deliver on that product and more. So, that's one thing I would really advise to folks. That. But in terms of opportunity, the global workforce is the modern day gold rush. Better than gold is human potential and equity. I would say that's a big space. If you wanted to get into that, businesses need VAs in all of their positions, and they don't know it yet. Only, I think it's 20% of businesses are even cloud-based yet. So we are at the very beginning of the new digital market age. So there's tremendous opportunities there in the supporting of businesses in that way. But if you're someone who's just looking for a new career path at this moment, and of course that can build into your own individual business, I love the trades. Mike Rowe, what he just continues to preach about the trades, it's where I found my foothold. I was able to start as a service technician, and lo and behold, that's the business I was able to create with zero capital. So I love the trades. I love working with my hands. You can't hardly find it anymore. There's just not.
It's hard, man. We're just not trained for that. We're not educated for it. It's a gap for sure.
Yeah, and that seems a little prehistoric when we're talking about the new digital market, and we're saying, hey, go turn a wrench. That seems almost kind of counterintuitive, but I'm telling you, those are both going to live harmoniously here, especially in America for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, we have forgotten how to make stuff, and we don't teach it in school anymore. And we compete with economies and countries where they're learning all these things from a very young age. And so you're tapping something there. There's definitely a gap. I'm in manufacturing, and I know that there's a huge gap in America for this labor, and it's going to continue to be a problem.
Yeah,
it's going to continue to be a problem. You help entrepreneurs get into their businesses, optimize quality, process, people, performance, and you've developed a program called the POWEROP Method. Tell us about that. Tell us about the framework of the POWEROP Method, and what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a systematic approach towards optimizing a business from start to finish, from operations and fulfillment to sales, accounting, and everything in between. So it is a step-by-step process that starts first with the owner. And I would say just kind of the biggest piece of value I can give to your audience right now is the fact that the biggest and most important step to fundamentally changing an organization is starting with the leader's mentality, is the mindset. The belief lid, as John Maxwell calls it in the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, is what holds business owners back and their people back. So we deal with that in our first echelon. We have 5 echelons within the POWEROP method. And from there, that's where we build our foundation. Once we have the business owner with a proper leadership framework and is ready to take on all of the actual hardware of a quality business within the digital marketplace, everything else is really kind of easy in a sense to implement. So yeah, and so we have the full POWEROP method, or we have ways to just parcel out that program into even as short as 2-day deep dives into an organization to help them get some executionable strategies. And honestly, at this point with your audience and your team, depending on how much time, or if we ever do this again, I'd be happy to give out all the secrets so that folks can just do it on their own. But if and when that's necessary, my team is here to support people methodically moving their business into a position of power.
What do you feel, and you may have answered this already, but like right now, what are companies suffering with the most? Why are people calling you?
Well, the biggest complaint I hear is I can't hire good people. And so we already kind of dealt with that. And it's not a matter of bad people not being present. It's crazy how many companies are still hiring based on experience and where you went to school. And in this market, you absolutely can't have that mentality. And for just those businesses that really look and understand that, okay, I'm going to be in a position to develop people. You need to bring on people with soft skills, great character. You look in their eyes, you shake their hand, and in that moment, because hiring is guessing and firing is knowing, in that moment of hiring, you're like, I feel like I want to work with you. Like, you just seem like a good person, and I want to invest my time, energy, and I want to invest my love into you. And so let's see how it goes. And taking people who have very little experience but have the framework, they're good communicators, they're smart, they know how to put together logical conclusions and provide solutions. They have this framework that's really essential for development. From there, you and your systems of your organization should be so simple and so well defined. This is part of the POWEROP method and what we help companies with: establishing standard operating procedures, organized so that hiring is automated. You onboard people in an automatic fashion. These great people run through this funnel till they get to the end where they're actually able to perform that operation. And then you manage it with a KPI dashboard where it's no longer I feel like this person's doing well. I know they're doing well because point number 5, 6, 7 says that they're all A's. They're doing great. And so, it's that process within your business. Again, all of that is founded on your responsibility, your ownership of making your business set up in such a way that good people with good hearts who are ready to work hard can thrive and flourish and do well there. And so developing people, that's such an exciting thing for me, because right now my company, Premier Fitness Service, is run only by those folks. It's run by my leadership, and none of them are MBAs. None of them have a background of business management or experience. I've set up systems to where they can manage this, and they have SOPs to show them how to handle even the most extreme situations. And they're not only handling the day-to-day, they're also managing the projected growth of the organization. And so I just think about where I was in 2018 and how I know that so many business owners are living that same experience. I just have a heart for impacting business owners with this data, this perspective and information, these tools, because I know that that's going to positively impact their people and just trickle down to such a massive impact. So sorry, I went a little long-winded there. But
follow this guy, guys. This guy's going somewhere.
Man, I'm just so excited about that.
I'm always fascinated with people's routine, and you're big into health and fitness. What's your daily routine? How do you perform at this level?
Yeah. And actually, it's a daily routine or a morning routine in particular, something that I require from my leadership, because it is so important to make sure that you dial in your morning. How you wake up and how you do the first few things of your day is how you can expect, and your mind subconsciously gets the indication that this is how the day is going to go. I'm going to win. I'm going to be in control of those things that I can control, because there's so many things that we can't control that happens during the day. But those big things to control is waking up, and of the first things that your eyes see is something positive and is going to fill you with information that you have available then to share with others throughout the day. You're meditating, you're sitting in silence, you're praying, you're listening to music, whatever that looks like. Bring in your mind from the REM cycle into a state of calm when it's awake, to be able to take that precious moment. I'm not a neurologist or anything like that, but I've heard enough to know, and I've experienced in my own life, that that's such a precious moment in your day where your mind is working at such harmony and is able to absorb so much positivity or negativity. So accessing your phone and checking social media is not an option at that moment. So doing that, I like to, what I do is I get some coffee and I read a book for 30 to 45 minutes. And then I exercise in my garage for another 45 minutes or so. I make a point of drinking water, and then I get my kids up for school, get them ready, walk my daughter to school. That is the absolute best time of my day, walking her to school and inserting some wisdom into her precious mind. And so, yeah, my mornings, I got to control those, because as soon as my morning's over, I feel this sense of empowerment and energy, all the good endorphins from exercising. It's just nothing like that. There's no energy drink or anything that you'll get during your day like you can access in the morning to take you through with power into the rest of your day.
So good. What do you hope to achieve in this work that you're doing? And what do you hope to leave behind?
Well, my mission, my business mission, professional mission, is to impact business owners to cultivate their businesses in such a way that it empowers people. It's people first. Milton Friedman in the 70s posted an article. He wrote, not an article, but it was a paper where he said the purpose of business is profit to the shareholders. And so Simon Sinek, who I love the most, actually,
yeah, the Infinite Game.
Infinite Game. He outlines how it's not business is not for profit. Just like your car is not for gas. You don't buy a car in order to accumulate as much gas as possible. Gas is what your car feeds on. You're not born to eat and to survive. You're born to create, and with tremendous purpose to accomplish something. And so business is not a space for us just to achieve profit. It's to cultivate people, a community. And yes, profit is a big part of the fuel for that business, but it's to impact and cause people and their families and their communities to thrive. So I'd like to see that trickle down from the top down. And then my social mission is to impact fatherless households, specifically showing the children that, look, there's a different way that your life can turn out. What you see is not all there is. And I want to be a big part of that. So that's kind of what makes me tick.
Well, from the moment we connected, I knew that you were a cool dude, and just such an honor for us to have the conversation and for you to do all the work you're doing. So proud of you, dude. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Ashish, and likewise. Like it was so funny. I think the first call, and it seems imprudent, probably telling your audience this. Like, yeah, we were on the phone for 2 minutes, and then we're doing a podcast together. But no, it's like that.
Sometimes you just know. Sometimes you know.
We're speaking the same language, and this language is kind of a lost dialect, you know, unfortunately. But
it is.
Man, this podcast, what you have here, and what you're putting out, intentionally putting out for folks, is so powerful and so necessary in this time, and is the one thing, these concepts are the one things that can not only save people, but man, cause people to thrive and actually make life meaningful. So powerful.
For people, and Perry puts a lot of really great content out there. Perry, tell the listener where should they follow you if they want to connect with you, if they want to email you, like how do they connect with you?
Heck yeah. PowerOp.com is a great place to just check us out. Otherwise on Instagram _PowerOp. You can find us there. Check out our content. Over there.
We'll put all the links in our show notes and everything too. And as we wrap up, Perry, my final question to you is, what does it mean to live a rich life?
It is predicated on satisfaction, fulfillment, and joy. And those three things have nothing to do with the monetary, but it is all about fulfilling your purpose here on earth. And everybody has been given a certain amount of energy and purpose when they set off on this journey, which is a miracle. And that's a whole other conversation for us to have. But man, it's finding fulfillment in the thing that brings you purpose, and pursuing that purpose to its absolute maximum potential. Whatever resources you have converging into you pursuing this, and that there's nothing that can get you down. There's no loss, financial loss. There's really nothing that can happen to really take you off that course. And so that's what I believe.
Dude, I have the best job ever, man. Like I get to talk to badass entrepreneurs about their journey and get more inspired than anybody. So I love this.
Let's go. Well, you got to have me back again. There's so much more for us to talk about. So anytime you get bored or you need to run two shows in a day.
I'm not bored, but we will go deeper. And you're right. There is always more things to go deeper on. And that's what's fun about this, to try to get as much we can in a short amount of time, but there is a lot more we could go to. But dude, Perry, thank you so much for being on the podcast and sharing your knowledge, and congratulations on your journey and keep being that light, my friend.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. And I wish you very, very well. Appreciate you.